I'll talk about my own work as one example. Um, for about 10 years, I've been building augmented realities, and the metaphor for that is a little like the movie The Terminator, where the robot has magic eyes and it sees the real world, but on top of the real world, it sees overlays that provide information and that empower its decision making. So to me, the interesting part of augmented reality is not where you're sitting at a desk and you're turning a book into a pop-up book, which is one form of augmented reality. It's when you're moving around out in the world and the world is augmented for you. So as one example, we have a project called EcoMobile, and we augment ecosystems like a pond so that you can go on a field trip to the pond and you are experiencing all the wonderful things that are at the pond, but you also are seeing overlays that help you to better understand what's going on or point out things that you might not notice otherwise. The metaphor is learning to see the world through the eyes of an expert. So we're trying to help students to see the pond through the eyes of an ecosystem scientist. Now, it's not easy to design that kind of learning because what mobile devices are very good at doing is sucking you into the device. One of my former postdocs has an image that he shows when he augmented a zoo. And in the image, there are 6 fifth graders sitting on the ground in a circle. They're all staring at a picture of a condor on their cell phones. And in the middle of the circle is standing a live condor, which they're ignoring. So we don't want to just suck people inside of the phone when they're doing mobile learning. We want the phone to be, or the tablet or the mobile device to be, draw them out into the world. That is not an easy design to do, and we've spent years, learning how to do it well, as have other groups. And that's really the interesting and the challenging part of this research is, as you're saying, Marie, the new pedagogies that are associated with it, which depend on new kinds of design heuristics and new ways of thinking about situated learning. History is another natural for augmented reality. My students and I and a colleague are going to augment the Boston Women's History Trail this fall and see how that goes as a way of bringing that history to life. A couple years ago, we did an augmented reality for the Washington, D.C. hotel where there was the attempted assassination of President Reagan. And it was kind of a spooky experience to be at the hotel in the present, but to see these sort of ghosts out of the past enacting in the same place that particular history. I haven't seen it done, but I think it'd be fascinating to learn economics by augmenting, say, an outdoor market so that you can make visible things that are invisible, like the flow of goods, the flow of people, the flow of money, and better understand the dynamics and the economics of the market that way. So I think this is a frontier that we're just beginning to explore. And what's really going to make it explode is when we help students themselves to be good at augmenting reality. Because then students can augment their own backyards, they can augment their neighborhoods for history, they can augment their local setting in ways that reflect what they're learning in school and how it applies to life. And that's going to be when we really start to have a rich explosion of things that augment the world. I think it's sporadic right now. There are little pockets of mobile learning being done well. I haven't seen anything systematic. Towns will put mobile broadband everywhere and they say now we're a mobile city, but they're not often thinking about putting learning everywhere as part of that. It's more of a commerce or an entertainment thing, and I think we need to get beyond that. My guess is that the first really compelling and pervasive aspects of mobile learning for the 21st century are going to be in the developing world before they come in the developed world. We have lots of other vehicles that we can use for education that, even though they may not be as effective, are difficult to displace. In the developing world, we're not going to see a school every 3 miles and a university every 30 miles. People have mobile as the infrastructure, not an infrastructure. And so I think that when this is well harnessed to economic development, which of course is really important in the developing world, there will be a lot of learning that is connected to it that's right in the villages, right at the fields, right where the energy sources are, right where the water is. And then once that kind of emphasis on basic needs is a proving ground for mobile learning, then it can expand in a lot of interesting ways. So I'm trying to watch and track the very interesting things that are happening in the developing world.